Hi guys! So today we're going to be doing small drawings of small things. So have a look around for something small that you could draw. A pencil sharpener, piece of Lego, a screw or a small toy, something like that. So learning today, we're going to be looking at observational skills, so the skills of looking at something, and we're also going to be looking at the visual elements, particularly line, tone, shape and form. Okay, so one of the first things we need to consider when we're going to do our drawing is what way the paper should go. So if I'm looking at my sharpener here, I think it's quite a rectangular shape and I think it would look better on a landscape piece of paper. So I'm going to turn my page that way. I'm going to put my object down in a way that I can see all the areas I want to see, and then I'm not going to move it again after that. I'm just going to consider all the things about it. Okay, so you're going to look at the object that you're going to draw. So here's my sharpener here. And the first thing we're going to think of is the shape. What's the biggest part of the object and what shape is it? Is it 3D shape? Is it a cube? Is it a sphere? What kind of shape would that be? What are you going to put down on your paper first? Okay, then we're going to look at the light and the dark, the tone. Where's the lightest on the object? Where's the dark parts? And where's the mid-tone that's not the lightest and not the darkest? We're also going to look at the lines. Are there some really sharp lines? Are there some wiggly lines? Are there some dark lines on there? So you've got to think about all these things, and putting them all together will help you also create some form, helping to make it look three-dimensional once it's down on your paper. Now, when you touch a picture of something like a sharpener, then you know it's flat, but what we want to do is make it look like it's three-dimensional. So that's the challenge for today. Have a look at your object now. What shapes do you see? What lines do you see? Where's the tone? Okay, so now having looked at it very carefully, I'm ready to start my drawing. So I'm going to mark it very loosely. Now I hold my pencil further back when I start to draw so that it's very light in my hand and I won't make any dark lines that won't be able to rub out. So I'm looking at it and I'm going to mark out very loosely where those shapes that we looked at are going to be. So I'm going to mark those on my piece of paper. And make sure that I've got enough room on my piece of paper to fit my drawing in. So I already see from what I'm planning out here, I need to make it just a little bit smaller. So I'm just making adjustments. Now, drawing really is about making loads and loads of mistakes and loads of corrections. Okay, so I'm just looking at the basic shape of it, and it's a 3D shape. So I'm thinking of it as a 3D shape. Okay, so I think that's about the right size for my sharpener on there. Okay, next I'm going to start looking at this by rubbing out the lines that I don't need, the sort of excess or hairy lines that might be around it. And now I'm going to mark it in a little bit more carefully. So looking more carefully at the sharpener and the shape that it goes. Okay, so if this is the corner here, I'm just going to follow it. I can see that it dips in. It's got a little bit cut out for the finger. So I'm going to judge how long that goes up, and it does the same at the other side. It curves in and there's a little ridge there as well. So that helps me with the shape. Now these sides come straight down. I know that that's a 3D shape, so I know that's going to come straight down here with the edges, and there's a curve that follows that at that side. So I can start to get more of the shape in and be a little bit more accurate about where everything's going to go. Now the blade is nearly up the middle there, so I'm just going to pop that line in so as I can see where it goes. There's a little shining light on that blade. It sharpens the pencil, and we'll have the part of the screw there. Now the screw, remember, itself is also a 3D shape, so we've got to think about it and its edges and where that's going to go on there. So it's just very loosely marked on there. There's a little gap where the sharpenings come out that I can see, and that actually is a little bit bigger at one end as I'm looking at my sharpener. I'm going to bring that across, and there's my edge. Now it's still all very light, nothing set in stone, nothing I can't rub out and change. And I've got to put the hole in at the end here. Now it's not in the middle, it's actually over at the side, but still is a very roundish shape. So see if I can get that shape in just down there. Okay, now again, going to lighten up my lines and take away any lines that I don't need. just very lightly with the rubber, try to tidy it up so as I can see very carefully where my picture is, where my drawing is coming out on the page. Okay, so there we've got the basics in there for my drawing. Now, obviously, you're looking at it from a different angle from me. I'm looking at it coming in this way, and you're looking straight down at it. So this sharpener you see here won't look like my picture here because we're looking at it from a different direction. You've got a camera angle there. But I am going to look at, from where I am, I'm going to look at it and see where the lightest and the darkest bits are. Now I'm sitting beside a window, so I can actually see that the light is coming in this side and it's hitting the sharpener along here. You can see that nice light ridge across there. The darkest parts are inside here, this edge here, and inside of the circle where the pencil goes in. So these are my darkest areas here. Apart from this bit here on the screw, which is a little bit more complicated, I can start to put tone over the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to use my pencil slightly differently. We're not going to use the point of the pencil, we're going to use the edge of the pencil, so the pencil lead along here. So I'm going to hold my pencil further back, and then I'm just going to apply a very, very light layer of tone over almost all of my picture. I'm just not going to do that very light bit that's over here. Okay, I'm going to do it very lightly, keeping it in the same direction. Now I haven't gone for where's darkest and which bit's lighter. I'm going over the whole thing, apart from that one very light bit there. Now you have to be very careful at this point that you don't lose your picture. So if at this point, if you're looking at it and you see that there's any bits there that you've lost your picture, then you can put your drawing back in before it's lost forever. Okay? Make sure you haven't lost your drawing. Okay, now I'm going to look at where the darker parts are, and I'm going to start to build up more tone over those darker areas. So these bits are quite light, they're not much darker, but this side down here is darker. So I'm going to start to take my pencil in a slightly different direction, and I'm just going to apply another layer of tone. Now I want to keep as much control over my pencil here as possible. We don't want to go outside of these lines. And there's some dark tone in here as well. Now you can give it a little rub with your finger here. Just be knowing that when you rub it with your finger, a little bit of the oil off your finger will come off onto the page, and it does, over time, eventually it will change your picture. So just be very careful if you are rubbing it with your finger. Okay. In here, we know that it's going to be darker. I need to turn my page there so as I can get in, and I know that this part along here where it's a little gap, where the pencil sharpenings come out, is a little darker, and it's a little darker along here. Okay, now looking at it, I can just carry on working on that. That's what I'm going to do just now. Start to build up layers of tone very lightly with my pencil, using the edge as much as the edge of your lead as you can. Okay, so we've looked at the shape, we've looked at the tone, and now we're going to look at the line. So some of my lines, when I've put the tone in there, will have got a little bit more fuzzy. And if I look at this, some of the lines stand out to me more. Even this circle here, where the pencil would go into the sharpener, the circle that goes around the top is much more defined than the part that's around the bottom. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to look for where things are a little stronger, and I'm going to use my line to make that a little bit stronger and a little bit clearer in certain areas of my picture here. Now there's quite a strong shadow around this area here, so I'm going to add that in, and it'll gradually build up more definition for my picture. Now by using the shape and the tone and the line, then we're starting to create form, making our object look three-dimensional. So my little sharpener there is starting to look a little bit more three-dimensional. Where it's sitting on the table here, I have a slight shadow. I can see the shape of the shadow as it comes round and slightly out the back here. So I'm going to add in that now. The shadow very rarely is a very strong shape. It's the shape of the object, but it's much lighter and it doesn't have sharp edges. So don't draw there, just add it in as a little bit of a shadow. Don't draw a line around it. I'm going to use my finger just a little bit to soften that bit in there. Okay, so I've got my shadow there. And the last thing we want to do is any details. So any little markings you might have. So I'm going to look at the screw here. Some sharpeners have little lines, little grips at the side. You might want to put those in. So just looking at any little details that you have. And that is the end of your drawing. One small drawing. Doesn't take long to do. You feel like you've accomplished something. It's a good feeling. You're improving your skills of observation and in the visual elements. So visual elements that we've used today, we have used line, we've used shape, we've used tone, and we've created form. So we've used 4 of those visual elements just in one little drawing. And then tomorrow I can turn the page in my notebook and maybe do another drawing of something else completely. Okay, have fun and draw something that you like. Well done, guys. I'd love to see your pictures, so please take a photo, send it to me at the email address above, get an adult to help you, and I look forward to seeing them. Bye for now.